Hi everyone, so today I will show you how I made this cute three-headed dog costume for my Chihuahua Hercules for this year's Halloween. I will walk you through it step by step and I will also show you how I designed the pattern. The costume is very light so that it doesn't bother my dog. It has no metal parts and the belt that goes over his belly is being closed with Velcro. This is how I have designed my costume. First I drew a shape that looks like the side view of my doggie's head, and then I measured with the measuring tape the distance from the tip of his nose till the end of the neck. This distance is the same length as the middle part of the plush doggie's head. It is a little bit more narrow in the middle where the nose is, then it goes a bit wider around his forehead, and then it comes a little bit closer together at the end of his neck. The widest part is on his forehead. I measured the length of the central bottom piece the same way, and this piece is also a little bit more narrow at the nose area. The ear is very easy, it is just a triangle, only the lowest line is slightly rounded. Here we have the harness part. For that I needed to measure my doggie, so here would be the head, so that you can imagine how it's going to be put on his back. And I measured the distance of his front legs over the back, and then the distance from the end of his neck towards the point on his back that is slightly behind his front legs. And now let's have a look how I made the head. Hercules is a long coat Chihuahua, so I bought two kinds of plush that look similar like the type of fur that he's having. So first of all I took a plush that is slightly longer, that looks like the fur that Hercules has around his neck, and this is the shorter version. This is going to be the main part for the doggie's head. As usual, Hercules thought that the fur is actually for him so that he has a nice new spot to chill on. I have also used faux leather. The thinner, the easier to work with. It should have a little bit of a structure because this is what we're gonna use for the nose, and also some pink fabric for the ears. So here I have all the shapes. First, the shape of his head, you need to cut it out twice. Then there's gonna be the central pieces for his head. I cut it accidentally twice, but you need it just once for the top of his head and once for the bottom. For the ears I used pink jersey, and since it's too thin I used also a fleece, and then the long coat fur looking like plush. And this triangle is going to be the snout. This is of faux leather, and the eyes are made of modeling paste. So I used a brown and black Fimo and baked it in the oven, and I made holes on the side so that I can sew it on, but you could also glue it on with a glue gun. Here I have an old IKEA pillow that I'm going to use for stuffing out the heads. I started sewing so that I pinned first the middle upper part of the doggie's head to one of the side parts. I leave always the pins in when I'm sewing. That is the reason why I put them in the way I do. And then I set my machine, which is the Singer Brilliance, on the regular non-elastic straight stitch. The stitch length was 2.5. The needle position was completely on the left, and the thread tension was 4. Once I was done with this part, I pinned on the other side of the middle piece the second silhouette, and I sew it together, and then I started pinning on the middle piece that is on the bottom part of the head. The bottom neck area remains open because this is where we're gonna stuff the head, and also the nose area remains open, and we're going to start sewing the nose. You can see the triangular shape is slightly longer. You need to sew through first on both of the sides, leave the bottom line open because this is how you can then turn it to the right side, and I always like clipping the top back because it's easier to shape it then. And I always take some kind of a tool for shaping it. I always cut the 2 or 3 millimeters of the tip of the nose back because I don't really need it, and then I fold the triangle to the middle like that, and I'm going to stitch it together first with hand because it's easier. I can then remove the pin. Then I hand stitch the nose on the plush. Once I was done, I turned the head to the right side and I start stuffing it. I started with the nose because the nose needs to be stuffed too, and then the rest of the head. And for the time being, I put only a safety pin to the bottom of the neck of the head, just in case I needed a little bit more stuffings later. Once I was done with the main part, I started working on the ears. So first of all, I put all the layers together and I made sure that the long hair of the fur is facing towards the middle of the ear. So once I sew through and turn the plush so that it's as fluffy as possible. So I pinned it together, left the bottom line open, and then I sew it through on the sewing machine with the same settings as usual, nothing changed there. Then once I was done, I turned the ear, clipped the point or the tip away of the ear and turned it, helped myself with scissors to shape the ear as good as possible, and then I found the perfect place on the head where then I needed to hand stitch the ears on. The last step is to put the eyes on, so either you glue them on with a glue gun or you stitch them on if you made holes in the eyes on the sides just like I did, and then the doggy heads are done. So what do you say to my puppies? So jokes aside, now let's move to the harness. This is the shape, you have already seen it, and I already told you how I created that with the measurements of my doggy. You could also use just a regular doggy harness and only cover it with plush. It would be probably much easier, but I decided to do it the hard way. So for the main part, I have here a layer of flieseline and jersey fabric and the plush with the longer hair. There is going to be a belt made of jersey fabric with flieseline on it so that it's stiffer, and there's going to be a velcro, so it's going to come to the side of the harness part, and this is going to be around the neck. It's 2 layers and an elastic band. One layer is jersey and the other layer is the plush with the longer fur, and this is the part I'm going to start with. First, I pinned the fur and the jersey together, and I made sure that the hair of the plush is facing inward so that once I turn it, so that it remains fluffy. First, I have sewn the longest sides and then I turned the stripe. Once this part was turned, I pulled through the elastic band and I put a pin on each end and sew it through. With the elastic band, it makes it very easy to pull it over your doggy's head and it wouldn't bother him because the length of the elastic band is also the circumference of his neck, so it's not too tight. And now I'm going to work on the belt that is going to be over his belly. So I made sure that the fabric has the same width on each side. And then first I saw through the two pieces of the belt, and then I turned them. So I took a long spoon, and it helped me to shape the end of the belt. So this is what we have here, and I started pinning it on the jersey part of the harness. So first I sewn the belt and the neck thing on the jersey part, and then I started pinning the fur on it. As usual, I made sure that the long fur is facing inwards, and when I started sewing it on, I made sure that there's gonna be about like 4 inches open so that I can turn it to the right side once I'm done. Here I actually made 2 mistakes because I didn't count in the seam allowance for the belt and for the harness. So what you need to keep in mind is that the belt should be a little bit more narrow than the part where you're going to be sewing it on. My second mistake was I saw this part wrong on, because actually the plush should have been on the right side, so now it's downwards, but that's okay, it's gonna work anyway since the color of the jersey is very similar to the color of the plush, so we will have to live with that. But I just wanted to show it to you guys so that make sure that you pin it on in the right position. So now I'm going to put this on my doggy and measure the length of the belt and cut it back. Since this pattern was still in progress, I really didn't know how long the belt is going to be. Should I make some kind of a similar costume in the future, I would be able to measure the actual length of the belt and I wouldn't need to cut anything back. But for now, I had to fold the fabric inwards, and then I placed the Velcro on the parts that are going to be overlapping. My Velcro is the kind of Velcro that has a glue on the back of it, so it is easy to position it. And then I went to my machine and sew through the Velcro and through the end of the belt that I just cut back. Now there were only a few steps left. So first I put the harness on my doggy, and I tried to find the perfect position for the fluffy hats. Hercules was awesome. He wouldn't complain, he was so patient with me, and he would just stand there until I was done. So he's really awesome. So now, once you're sure that you have enough stuffings in the fluffy hats, you can stitch them together on the bottom part. I took the rest of the belt that I cut back and marked with it the part in the middle of the back of the harness, which kind of marks the distance of the hats for me. And then I just took one of the hats and stitched it on with hand, and then I did the same with the second hat. So, and that was it. This is how I made the costume. If you want to see my doggie's presentation of the costume, don't forget to check out the info below the video, because I filmed the video with him where he's kind of being scary, you know, a little chihuahua with just a few pounds, but it was quite cute and funny, so if you want to, you can check it out. If you like this tutorial, don't forget to leave a comment or a thumb up. You will also find the links to my Facebook page, Instagram page and web page in the info below this video, together with the link to my playlist with other do-it-yourself videos, so if you're looking for more inspiration, you can check them out. If you're going to make this costume, don't forget to send me a picture. You can do it via Facebook or Instagram. And thank you so much for watching, and have a great day. Bye!